Doki Doki Literature Club. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is me, Harkness, and today we're going to be doing a book review. I haven't done a book review in a very long time, and here in the United States, I was mostly busy with schoolwork and etc. But here I am doing a book review once again, and I thoroughly enjoy it. And I hope you do enjoy reading it. Better be a good boy. Also, season's greetings. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas with your family just like me. There's a vlog video coming up. And also, before we finally get into the book review, I just want to say that my first book review, although it is one of my highest viewed ones, I'm kind of disappointed in my segment for Fight Club. I really didn't do it justice. So as much as possible, I'd like to add some more love, you know. Not make it impromptu, but rather have a script ready. So anyways, we're going to be reviewing 3 books today. The Stranger by Albert Camus, 12 Rules of Life by Jordan Peterson, and Roadside Picnic by the Strugatsky brothers. So let us start off with our, book 1. Our first book is going to be 12 Rules of Life by Jordan Peterson. You might know Jordan Peterson for his online presence because when you search up his name in YouTube, the first thing you see is Jordan Peterson triggers the libs. Jordan Peterson owns SJW in University of something, whatever. He's best well known for that, and he's also well known for his YouTube videos where he's explaining conditions about the human mind. Jordan Peterson's a psychologist, by the way. And this book came to being when in one day Jordan Peterson got into a website called Quora. What is Quora? Quora is basically a website where it's like Yahoo Answers, except Yahoo, it's not as shitty as the Yahoo Answers. It's actually pretty decent. So he came up with this book. He answered the question, what are the rules of life? He answered it, and he answered it so well that it became one of the most upvoted things in Quora. And then he said to himself, why don't I make a book about it? So here we are with 12 Rules of Life. Some of his rules are unorthodox, like set your house before you criticize the world, stand up straight. I slouch a lot, but because of Jordan, Papa Jordan, I try my best to stand up as straight as possible, and don't judge others except who you were yesterday. What makes Jordan Peterson amazing is how he explains these rules to you. When your mom explains you rules, she tells you it's because, for example, if your room is messy, your mom tells you to fix your room because you sleep in it, and if it's dirty, you're a friggin' pig. Come on, man. You're a grown adult. However, when Jordan Peterson tells you to clean your room, he tells you why it's good for your soul. Why it's good for your soul, your mental psyche, and how it just sets you on the right direction at the first day. You've completed your first objective. To me, my favorite rule in Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules of Life is none other than compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. Have you ever heard of Dave Mustaine? It really resonated me because I quickly remembered the story of Dave Mustaine and Pete Brown. Now, who is Dave Mustaine? You're probably, to all you metal fans out there, Dave Mustaine is none other than the main man of Megadeth. But before we get started, let's look at his story, okay? Dave Mustaine, once upon a time, was part of this metal band. They weren't selling a lot of tickets, but hey, he was part of a band. But then one day, he was kicked out of that band, and Dave Mustaine swore to himself that he was gonna be better than his past band. He's gonna be better than them in every way. He's gonna make them regret kicking him out. Dave Mustaine would soon create Megadeth. It is up there with one of the greatest heavy metal bands. Unfortunately, the band that kicked him out was none other than Metallica. Yes, they are. Megadeth is not as famous as Metallica, and Metallica would sell more copies. But Dave Mustaine never got over. He never got over it. He became so bitter and cynical. He cried over the fact that Metallica kicked him out. The thing is, Dave Mustaine will never live up to that. He'll never be happy if he keeps comparing himself to that. He's still bitter and cynical about it. Now let us compare it to Pete Best. Pete Best was actually supposed to be the fourth Beatle, but he got kicked out because of he got dismissed out of the band before Beatles got any famous. But then it must have been hard watching the band that kicked you out becoming slowly more popular. Pete Best got replaced by Ringo Starr, and he was very depressed about it. However, unlike Dave Mustaine, he took a step back and re-evaluated his life. And then he said to himself, you know, I'm living a pretty good life. Why should I be mad? You know. So Pete Best, ironically, despite being kicked out of the band, was actually the best thing that's happened to him. He found a wife, he's got kids, he's got a good job, he's got a roof over his head, although he's not as famous as the four Beatles. And ironically, out of all the four Beatles, he was the one who enjoyed a relatively stable marital life compared to the shaky and rocky lives that his former bandmates would lead up into. I give this book a 5 out of 5. Unfortunately, even if I give it my highest rating, this book has problems. Jordan Peterson has a tendency of beating around the bush. But other than that, it's a good read. Second book. The second book that we're going to be talking about is a very strange one. It's called The Stranger by Albert Camus. Before we start talking about the book, we need to talk about the man himself, Albert Camus. Albert Camus is a French existentialist philosopher who became famous in the postmodern era. He, alongside Jean-Paul Sartre, fun fact, Albert Camus and Jean-Paul Sartre used to be friends, but they disagreed about Stalin and communism. Albert Camus is a communist, unfortunately, but he made the good book, by the way. And unlike most philosophers, he was a pretty handsome guy, and he lived a pretty good life, and he was really into sports, unlike poor Nietzsche, ugly Sartre, and who do you call that guy again? And poor Kierkegaard. Albert Camus was different to his contemporaries, and he is most well known for 3 books: The Plague, The Stranger, and The Myth of Sisyphus. And he is also best known for his works called Existentialism. I will link it below, a video about existentialism, a crash course about that. I suggest you watch that before you read this book. So this book follows the story of Mersault. My man Mersault is, he is unorthodox, to say, you know what, that's putting it lightly. He's fucking weird. He feels no remorse. He feels no regret because he doesn't see the point in everything. Actually, the book opens with the line like this. One of the most famous opening lines up there with 1984. Where do you call that again? You know what? I memorized the line anyway. But it goes like this. Mama died yesterday. Mama died today. Or was it yesterday? He can't even remember if his mom died. I'm not gonna spoil you what happens in the story, but the title kind of gives it off. He is a stranger to society. He's a stranger to everyone else. He doesn't fit in with anyone, basically. He doesn't see the point of work. He doesn't see the point of relationships. He doesn't see the point of anything. He is his own man. In a way, he is free. He is his own man, but society shuns him because of it. He is like a stranger. He's so bizarre. I'm sorry if that's the way how I explained it, but it is something you've got to experience it for yourself. It is a rite of passage for French children, actually, to read book. So yeah, I give this book a 4 out of 5. I have to keep quiet because this book, I don't want to spoil any plot points of this, okay? Just so you know, Mersol is a crazy guy. Our last and final book. Our last and final book is by the Strugatsky brothers. It is none other than Roadside Picnic by Arkady and Boris Strugatsky. To give you a bit of backstory on how this book was created, this was created during the time of the Soviet Union, back then when there was a lot of crackdowns. But this was written during, I believe, what era? Jesus. When...
Are you done?
Not yet.
Let's go. Sit na muna.
Book 3. The third book that we're going to be talking about is relatively unknown to the West. Unless you've been playing the Stalker games or you've watched the Stalker movie, then you probably are aware of this book. It is none other than Roadside Picnic by Arkady and Boris Strugatsky. This book was published around 1972 to 1973 during the height of the Cold War against America and the Soviet Union. Now, the Strugatsky brothers, their vision of sci-fi is extremely different compared to their Western counterparts. And I think that's what makes this book very special. So, before we talk about Roadside Picnic, let's talk about what's going on in this book. Alright, so there are basically around 8 visitation zones, I believe. That's what it's called, or 9. Can't remember. Hold on. College student, eventually. First and last discovery. 6 visitation zones scattered all across the world. And Roadside Picnic takes place in a fictional town somewhere in the West. Now, what makes Roadside Picnic very interesting is the way how it frames humanity. In many sci-fi novels, humanity is placed in a pedestal. My best example is in Mass Effect. Humanity quickly becomes one of the council races. They're so important to the galaxy. But here in Roadside Picnic, the aliens don't even give a damn about us. We are so impossibly primitive. They were like, they're not even worth our time. We're not even gonna meet them personally. The aliens were so impossibly advanced, we never got a glimpse of them. But aliens is the most popular theory on what has happened in these visitation zones. Some people said that, oh, the aliens, they're here to probe us. Some say that the aliens have already made first contact and they are trying to technologically lift us up. Some said that the aliens are trying to test humanity, how it would react to these things that they've left behind. While others claim that the zone is a gateway to hell itself, the spawn of Satan, an abomination to the world. Now in Roadside Picnic, the title of the book says it all. The aliens come and visit, that's one of the theories, of course. Some even don't believe that it's aliens. Some believe it's some sort of weird space phenomenon that has nothing to do with aliens. But the title of the book says it all. Aliens visit our world, and as quickly as they arrived, they quickly left. Their trash is our treasure. And in Roadside Picnic, it follows the stories of a stalker. Now, what are stalkers? Stalkers are basically people who illegally enter the zone. You can legally enter the zone. However, you have to go through a long bureaucratic process. You have to go through a long bureaucratic process. And another thing about going to the zone legally, it's not as profitable as stalking. Because of that, the black market trade has opened up. Many nations, private collectors, everyone started to go into the zone The zone is like the discovery of a new it's like the discovery of a new land, like the discovery of the Americas. Everything is mystical, everything is wonderful. However, the zone has dangers. If you play the stalker games, you're aware. You basically, in order to find artifacts, you need to navigate around these dangerous anomalies. The anomalies in Roadside Picnic are extremely dangerous compared to their stalker video game counterparts. If you accidentally rub against a transparent web, you will die of a heart attack hours later. If you didn't plan out carefully and you just walk into random stuff, you might walk into a bug trap and you will get squashed. Or worse, you'll run into a meat grinder and your body will be twisted and contorted like how someone wrings out the clothes, wet clothes. Oh, horrifying. And our story follows this man named Red. Red is a stalker, an illegal stalker. Now, he's been through the zone many times, and he's kind of a narcissist. He views himself as above the scientists, above the institute, above everyone else because of his unparalleled knowledge of the zone. And he lives a very fuckboy lifestyle. And he basically gets one of his girlfriends pregnant, and then she said, "You know what? I'm gonna keep this baby." The thing about stalkers is that their children are mutated, and Red's child becomes known as the monkey. And as the story continues, I'm gonna leave you a minor spoiler, but it just gets terrible. Red is a raging alcoholic. He has no direction in his life. He doesn't even know what he wants. Oh, that's a spoiler. So yeah. And basically, the book culminates when he soon finds the Golden Spear. The Golden Spear is the wish granter. It is said to grant any mortal man's wish. So that's what's gonna happen. I'm not gonna spoil any further than that. Okay. So that's my honest opinion about Roadside Picnic. What introduced me to Roadside Picnic was actually Seth the Zintac on his review of Stalker. I said, I'll give Roadside Picnic a try, and here I am. It's pretty good. Honestly, I'd give the book a 4 out of 5. There are some problems with the book. There are so much talking points that it's easy to get lost. There are points where it's tempting to skip swaths of dialogue because this thing is dialogue heavy. But other than that, it's a pretty good book. That's just my personal opinion. Don't rag on me. This thing has a very big cult following in Eastern Europe. So yeah, that concludes my book review, and I hope you enjoyed it very much as I enjoyed reading these classics. So yeah. Anyways, this has been Harkness, and remember, folks, life is always good. Make the best out of it. Until next time.
Okay, check it out. It's actually burning.
Our chicken.
Hey Daniel, that doctor's appointment with that rash on the butt, you know, herpes and shit. Yeah, the doctor's here. Should go see him.
Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to someone who is today. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. Come on.
How did this happen? What are you guys doing? Kaya nga. You know this is recorded, yeah? I'm putting that on the outtakes. Definitely not this one. That's not. It'll be open in a bit. Stop cooking here. Cook elsewhere. Stop cooking here.
Stop cooking here. Hey, do you want to know why it alarmed? Because Papa, being the genius he is, set it in such a high heat. And I think he forgot to turn on the fan. Can you check the chicken? I'm putting my head down on the chicken. Okay. Yep.
You'll never get it done.
I'll never get this book review done with you guys. What the fuck? Great. The best example I could think of comparing yourself to who you are today, to who you are yesterday, rather than someone else, will have to be the story of Dave Mustaine and Pete Best. Okay, who is Dave Mustaine? If you're really into metal, personally, I'm not into metal. God damn it! Just close it.